This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
I just saw Shams Charania reported that the Miami Heat, before the trade deadline, made an offer for Kyrie Irving. Are they high?
Oof. Well, they wanted to help with the team chemistry.
Well, that's true. And add leadership. Yeah. No, it makes
and
a lot.
Guy you can count on. Game in, game out. Yeah. Day in, day out. I mean,
reliable leadership, consistency, dedication, all the things that make Kyrie Irving what he is.
Predictable. By the way, hashtag sarcasm, just to be clear.
Yeah, yes. Sad that we have to actually do that. But
just in case.
You're probably right. All right, man. It ended for us last night on the basketball end, but a hell of a run, so I can't. There's zero complaints. And by the way, no matter how it ends here, zero complaints also. But watching Tkachuk with what looks like a broken wing, I don't know, bro. I don't have a lot of hope for tonight, unfortunately. Poop. I'm kind of not feeling it today for them, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm not. Here's the thing, though, is even heading into the series the whole way, because Vegas is a better team, let's be honest, the margin for error always was small. And the thing that sucks is in the 3 games that they lost, forget game 2 because they got blown out, but in game 1 and game 4, where they lost by 1 goal. No, sorry. Well, game 1 was essentially a one goal game because it was 2-2 until it broke loose late. But they had one really, really, really bad defensive mistake that had nothing to do with Vegas that cost them a goal, and they're not good enough right now to afford those. There was a horrible line change on the first goal, like 2 minutes into the game in game 4. And then in game 1 and in game 3, you have 2 defensemen who go behind the net and into the boards where the guy's not going to hurt him and leave somebody wide open in front of the net. Those are the mistakes. They cannot afford. They have to play, I don't want to say a perfect game because there is no such thing, but no major mistakes if they're going to have a shot tonight.
Yeah, no, of course. And the Verhaeghes and the Bennetts and the Montours and the Barkovs, all these guys have got to, because obviously your superstar is not himself.
No.
So everybody else, Poop, has got to step it up to like 10 notches, bro. They've got to play like throughout the year. There have been those moments where all those guys were the dominant forces in a game.
Yeah, but this is the playoffs, and you're playing against a team that's really good. Not only that, it's really really good and really big on defense. They have 4 guys who are 6'4", or bigger. No, they're actually all 6'4" on the nose, and they're good. So,
and Hill is playing over his head.
And Hill's playing over his head. I have no issue with the effort they put forth. Saturday night, considering the circumstances where you were without Tkachuk for pretty much the entire third period, and they still almost tied it at the end of the game. And you could make the argument, I don't want to play that card, but you could make the argument Tkachuk was clearly cross-checked in open ice after a whistle blew with like 1:29 left, that the way the series has been called throughout the series should have been a cross-checking penalty, so there would have been 6-on-4 for 1:29 as opposed to 17 seconds. And who's to say they don't tie the game? And with the craziness of their season, who's to say they don't score? I mean, it exemplifies that the margin between losing and winning isn't really that big, even though Vegas clearly is a better team.
Yeah. It's going to be tough tonight, man. Bob has to have one of those nights where, like the other night, the first goal was a breakaway. But when you're on like a goalie is hot at that, brother, you got to stone him at that moment. You just got to take the heart out of him at that moment. You know what I mean? And Hill's done that a couple times to some of our guys, that he's had one of those saves where he just stabs that crap right out of the air, and you're like, damn it, dude. You know, and that's what Bob has got to be tonight. He's got to be like super special, like completely on.
Yeah.
You know?
And there's 2 things with goalies. There's number 1, don't give up the bad goal. And then number 2, come up with a huge save once in a while, like Hill did in game 1 when he reached out to stop Cousins. Those are the two factors. I don't think Bob. I don't think gave up like a really soft goal in game 4.
No.
Yeah, it would have been nice had he been able to stop the goal, even though that's purely that goal is on a horrible line change and then really bad defensive responsibilities on top of that. So
I just need you to once in a while bail them out on those kind of moments. You know what I mean?
Which he's done many times throughout the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely. But tonight is a night where he's got to bring it like absolutely. I asked Cameron Wolf this. I will ask you this because I got bombarded with Dolphin fans for months now. I'm sure you did too since your mailbag swells all the time. I'm sure your swelled out mailbags for the last couple months had Dolphin. We have to trade for Dalvin Cook. We have to trade for him. We got to sign him. Well, what happened, bro? Where are all these people that wanted Dalvin Cook now? What happened in the NFL? They're not in line waiting for Dalvin Cook. What is going on, Poupart?
Oh, me thinks old Dalvin wants more money than the Dolphins or any other team is willing to give him. Let's be honest. And look, the whole I want to play for the Dolphins. That's awesome. He also wants to play for probably 25 teams will pay him what he wants to get. That's the same thing with DeAndre Hopkins. Let's not kid ourselves. It's really, really rare for a player. I remember John Stockton one time in Utah turned down a much more lucrative offer somewhere else because he wanted to play in Utah. That is rare that players willingly give up a lot of cash. That's just life. So this notion that
Tom Brady does that while he's married to a woman that makes more money than he does,
while he's also raking in the cash with endorsements and all that.
That too. That which is you're right. That's such a key thing that we all overlook at times, that some guys are making so much money off the field that they can afford to actually take a little less. But he did that for many years, where he took a team friendly contract, overall. So, but again, it's rare, dude. Those things.
It is very rare, and I don't blame any guy who's chasing the money. Hats off to somebody who will do it for reasons other than the money. It's all fine, but this notion that immediately Dalvin Cook's available, he's joining the Dolphins the next day. Yeah, to me it was always. And again, look at the Dolphins salary cap situation. They have a lot of high-priced guys. There's only so much they have to go around. Right now, forget Dalvin Cook. They have to. Christian Wilkins wants an extension, which I'm more and more. I'm thinking not happening until 2024. Connor Williams wants a new contract. Very obvious. Zach Steeler wants a new contract. Robert Hunt's in the final year of his deal. Raekwon Davis the final year of their deal. They have, 6 guys next year who already have a cap number over $20 million. There's only so much money to go around. I mean, if Dalvin Cook wants to come in and go, I'll play on the cheap contract because it legitimately my dream to play for the hometown Dolphins, then okay, you consider it, but it's not going to be one of those. Okay, how much do you want, Dalvin?
By the way, I disagree with you. I think Wilkins will get done before the season starts.
Okay, we'll see.
Because I think the reason why I think this is he's such an important piece emotionally, leadership-wise, not just a great player, but all the other tangibles and intangibles that he brings to the table. And I think he's one of those guys that everyone gravitates to one way or another in that locker room. And I think it'll send a really bad message that you put that kind of a player to play on his final year of his contract. So I think they'll take care of him. A guy like Connor may have to play on the final year, but maybe they'll add a little spice to that contract. Give him a couple of incentives or guarantees so he makes a little bit more money, but not necessarily a new deal. But I think the guy Wilkins does get it, because I think you want to send that message to the locker room that certain players are going to be treated certain ways. And if you're a Tyreek or a Tua or a Teron Armstead or a Wilkins, you should be treated accordingly. So I just get a feeling that it's a message thing, that it's important for them to have it done before the season starts.
To me, the bigger message they've sent is we will do what it takes to win the championship, which is why they got Tyreek Hill, they got Jalen Ramsey, they got Bradley Chubb. And I think that message has already been established. And I think players on the team should be sophisticated enough to understand that we'll take care of our guys when we can and when needs to be done. But, trust us with the process. And if you see all the talent that's being brought in, I think maybe the players buy in. It could be, which may not thrill Christian Wilkins. It could be one of those, understanding, which there kind of was with that maybe they do something like they did with X, where, I don't know, maybe they adjust his contract for this year with an understanding they're going to renegotiate next year.
Unless they extend them for 1 year where they give him some guarantees, extra guarantees, and then rework the deal next year. But I doubt that. I think he gets a new deal because they can open up more cap space that way. That's the thing. Once
they don't open up cap space this year. They
don't need it. It's next year.
Correct. That's the point. So if you're redoing the deal now, yeah, I guess you could. Yeah, you could do the extension to start next year at a low base number. Okay.
The bonus comes on March 1st and all that, and then the bonus and the contract kicks in next year. Even though you agreed to it now, the contract kicks in. So starting the league year, he gets his bonus. It gets broken down. The money gets lowered, so his cap number will be much lower than it was this year, actually. So, it's not so bad. I just think that a guy like him, I think it's a mistake if you don't sign Wilkins before the start of the season. I think it sends a terrible message to the locker room if you don't re-sign Christian. Unlike your buddy Omar Kelly, and where I disagree with him, I have a crap ton of appreciation for that guy. And I think he means a lot to this team on the field and off the field. So I think that how he practices everything, he just sets the stage that coaches have to love and front offices have to love a player like this, that he is completely all in on everything. How do you bring enthusiasm when you're a seasoned veteran like him to minicamp? That's crazy, bro. That's nuts.
Seasoned veteran. He's like 25. Here's my question.
This is what his fifth year, right? He's going into his fifth year.
Yeah, correct. But here's two things. Number one, I agree with you. Number two, Omar likes Wilkins. The issue that Omar has, obviously, I've had many conversations with him about this, is how much do you pay a guy who, if we're going to be honest, is mostly a run-stuffing defensive lineman and a great one at that. However, if you look at the guys that I mentioned who have cap numbers over $20 million next year, Tua, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Ramsey, Teron Armstead, Bradley Chubb, who are either guys, cornerbacks, pass rusher, quarterback, wide receivers. Those are the guys who affect the outcome of games a lot more than a run-stuffing defensive lineman. And that's the issue with Christian Wilkins, because Spotrac or Spotrac, however you pronounce it, they place his market value at 19.4. Drew Rosenhaus was on television a couple of nights ago suggesting he may get like around 20 million.
Yeah.
And to me, I would say for a guy whose pass rushing contributions are pretty limited, that's a hell of a stiff price. That's my issue with Christian Wilkins.
Yeah. Although I will say this, if Chubb picks it up and Phillips breaks out, Wilkins' sack numbers go up. Because once the pass rushers break through, and if your secondary gets back to playing, I think Wilkins' sack numbers could actually go up, not by much, an extra 2 or 3 sacks maybe. So he goes from 3.5 to 5 or 6, something like that. I think his numbers can go up. I think some of the things around him have not helped him in that area. But God, he is so good at tackles for losses, tackles period. Just, doing his job on the line, and then everything else he brings to the table as a leader. Hell, he can even play the mental game with opponents. Hell, doesn't he get to Josh Allen at times? Yeah. So, I'm saying there's just so many reasons why I like, and next year, all salaries go up, and the year after that, and the year after that. So him making 20, it may sound overpriced, but it's kind of like the Ryan Tannehill thing. When they first gave him the 17, we were like, really, dude, you're giving him 17 million? Well, that's what the market is. Unfortunately, that's kind of where it goes at that point. And that's kind of where we're at. It's the market that remember, while the other guys have sacks, he has way more tackles. You know what I mean? So he does help out in other areas, and those could be key third downs, key fourth downs, where he's helping you in ending drives, which is almost as good as a sack.
And here's the thing, though, is I'm not even so much concerned about the sack numbers, but I want to feel him a lot more as a pass rusher.
Okay.
I want to see him get, push in the pocket, getting close to the quarterback, even if it's not a quarterback hit or whatever, affecting the rhythm of the passing play. And I haven't really seen that very much. And again,
that's fair because
there's only so much money to throw around, and then $20 million for me for a guy who's semi one-dimensional, it's a little pricey for my taste.
Okay, that's fair because you see everybody else in that money range getting way more sacks. I get it. That's fair. That's not unrealistic to ask of. All right. Are you expecting anything else here during this quiet period outside of Dalvin Cook? By the way, personally, I think they end up getting Dalvin Cook because no one gives him money.
Sure.
And then by the time whoever does offer him, it's going to be slightly a little more than Miami. And he's going to say, this is a better team, no state tax, my hometown. I'll sign a 1-year deal with a really good offense. I'll boost my value up, and hopefully next year I'll get a contract. So I think he'll sign that 1 or 2 year deal with Miami, thinking that he can take a step forward with it. Because I don't believe there's going to be anybody out there offering him $8-10 million. Your thoughts on that?
If somebody was going to give him $10 million, they just thrown the Vikings a 7th round pick to get it done.
Right. Amen.
10-4. So, no, I absolutely. It's a very, very plausible, if not realistic, scenario that you present. My thinking for him, though, is this week's the last week of the offseason mini camps around the NFL. Dolphins were done last week, but everybody else is done this week. There's really no hurry for him to do anything. My guess is he probably signs sometime in mid-July once, because there's no reason for him to rush to sign what he would feel would be an undervalued contract, because, again, there's nothing going on until for a month and a half. So my guess is he sits tight, hopes that, some teams comes to their senses and decide to throw him more money. And in the end, yeah, I absolutely could see that. And excuse me, I could see the odd signing here or there. They've done things in June in the past. Certainly wouldn't expect an earth-shattering move at this time. They also have to finish the business of signing Cam Smith, their 2nd-round pick. Not exactly sure what's holding this up at this point, since it's slotted. And like I said earlier, I know offset language is one issue that comes up, even though the numbers are pretty much rigid. And I don't know if there's something else that could be involved. Not sure there. That's going to get done sooner rather than later.
Do you know anything going on with Connor? Because that's one that, I think they'll guarantee him some money and get him in there, but we haven't heard anything. And that's one that, brother, that one needs to be resolved. Although I got to say, the snaps were pretty clean in minicamp. I got to give him that. The snaps were very clean in minicamp. I don't know about the blocking, and I'm not measuring the blocking anyways. They're on full pads, so I don't really care that much. But I will say the snaps were clean without Connor. And
mind you, there were also no Dan Feeney in the offseason practices. He had some sort of leg issue. We saw him one day with a compression sleeve on his leg. So is it possible the Dolphins are going to say to Connor Williams through his agent, Drew, listen, we love Connor. Let him have another good year. We'll revisit his contract next year. He signed 2 years, making $7 million this year. If you want to play hard ball, we got options here. We have Liam or Feeney who could get the job done, because again, they could play Isaiah Wynn at left guard.
Right. Yeah.
And Isaiah Wynn at left guard, Liam Eichenberg at center, or Connor Williams at center, Liam Eichenberg. Dolphins may make the argument 6-1, half a dozen of the other, or close to it. But he'll definitely show up at training camp because he's going to get fined too much. But it could be one of those where I'm showing up and I'm not doing anything.
By the way, Tua Time sent in a text. He says Diggs is missing minicamp due to a neck injury he suffered last season that was caused by him looking up too much at the overthrown passes from Alain.
That's funny.
That was good.
That's funny.
That was good by Tua. I like that. All right, what do you got going on Sports Illustrated so folks can check you out?
I am going to do today my look at the top 10 offseason additions around the AFC East, and they will include some Dolphin players. And I will also tell everybody, though, that even though the offseason program is done, we don't start training until July. We will have something up every single solitary day on alldolphins.com. And Omar and I are doing a podcast tomorrow.
All right. Good stuff there. Follow him on Twitter at Poupart NFL. And of course, bookmark alldolphins.com. You can read all his articles, Omar's articles, and watch their videos too at the same time and catch them twice a week here with our EJDconstruction.com, Miami Dolphins, and NFL reports. Oh, wait a minute. One more. Tank wants to ask you, ask Poop, where does he see Cedric on this offense? Taking notes on the sidelines?
I was trying to find a way to be very, very polite about phrasing this. Serving as an emergency relief player. I see him as at best number 5 right now because I have Tyreek Waddle, Robbie Chosen, and Braxton Berrios clearly ahead of him. And I think the Dolphins would like to see Ezukama jump ahead of him.
And Ezukama is their draft pick, and they want to develop him. You know what I mean? So,
but I have a hard time seeing the Dolphins flushing.
He's here only because of his salary. That's it. That's the only reason. And he's an insurance policy now for the outside guys.
Correct.
So if something happens to the outside guys, because Berrios is going to dominate inside, and he's going to be the number one slot guy. Some other guys will play the slot, but I think Berrios will be the guy. But it's not his fault, man. Tyreek Hill became available, and you can't blame them. They had to trade for Tyreek. And then that made him pretty much indispensable or dispensable. I'm sorry.
Correct. Because he's a solid player, but there's a solid player. I mean,
they have better players.
It also could be. I could see. First of all, nothing's going to happen to me. I could see a scenario also. I mean, I will go back and forth on this. Right now, the only reason he's on the team is because of his roster. It could be that if the Dolphins get out of training camp in the preseason cleanly, when it comes time to final roster cuts, that they might decide, you know what, we're gonna let's
take the hit,
take the hit, but there's no reason for them to.
Or Cedric says, I need, his agent snoops around, finds that there's a spot somewhere. And he says, "Oh, I'll take a pay cut to get released, and whatever his salary is, let's say it's $6 million, and he takes $4 million to walk away, and then he's able to go play somewhere else because his agent snooped around. And hey, we'll bring him over, we'll play him over here. And if he just needs playing time, then that's fine. He might take a little less. I could see a buyout. That's what it's called, a buyout. That kind of shit could end up happening. But outside of that, the cap hit keeps him on here, unfortunately.
Yeah, like I said, I could see a scenario where if they get out of camp without any injuries
and no new contracts, because if they start giving out new contracts to Connor and to Sealer and to Christian, they may not have the money in the space to take the cap hit. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a lot of people that you got to pay, dude.
But it's already there. I mean, they're taking the cap hit regardless. They're taking the cap hit regardless.
Yeah,
that's not going away. That's not going away. So they may decide we're not going to keep him around just for the sake of having him around. It's wasted money anyway.
Right.
So, I don't know.
I feel bad for him, dude.
No,
I really feel bad for him because this was his opportunity to take his next stage in his career, and it got completely cock-blocked by the trade of Tyreek Hill. And no one can blame anybody for making that move. You had to make that move if you're Miami.
Of course.
Feel terrible for the guy. I really do, because maybe we might be looking at him in a different light if he was actually, playing and starting. You just never know. It sucks for him, man.
No, and I also think Gesicki's 2022 season is completely different if the Dolphins don't make that trade for Tyreek Hill. I mean, it changed everything on this offense.
Yes, it did. You are correct. Follow him on Twitter at Poupart NFL and catch his work there, like we told you, at alldolphins.com. Bookmark it, baby. That officially makes you a Dolphins fan. Poop, we will catch you later on in the week, my friend. Thank you. And feel better.
Thank you. Take it easy.
You got it. That is our EJDconstruction.com Miami Dolphins report.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.